Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Katie Greifeld. We're counting you down to the closing bell, and here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with our friends Carol, Massar and Jess Menton. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms on a Friday afternoon to close out the week that I think could really be characterized by kind of a loss of momentum, Carol.
Yeah, I really feel it. And, you know, it's funny, we were saying dog days of summer, but it feels like there's been a fair amount of news flow. But it does feel like with the markets, there's a little bit of a slowdown in that momentum. And we see these erratic days. And I feel like until we get some more clarity, maybe it's Fed policy about the outlook, recession, no recession, despite all the no recession talk. I feel like we need some clarity here, Jess.
And especially next week, we're going to start hearing from the retailers. So we have Walmart, Target, Home Depot all on tap. So that's going to give us some more color into the consumer and what that means for the economy.
A nice reminder that earnings season never ends. I'm most excited. At this point, it's August 11th. I'm just looking forward to Jackson Hole. It feels like we do have those earnings, but we're going to really struggle for catalysts here.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of catalysts, and maybe that leaves the markets to its own devices, I guess, if anyone's still around to trade this. But what exactly are you trading? Are you buying into valuations? Are you buying into growth? What?
I don't know. You said Dow outperformance. So apparently we're buying the Dow Industrials right now. I mean, that's where investors are committing some money. I mean, that's the only major index right now in the green.
I'm not sure I like your tone of voice. Respect the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I mean, it is the OG of price-weighted indexes. We should point out 21 of the 30 members in the Dow Jones Industrial Average are higher on the day. That includes some pretty interesting moves by Chevron, Merck, Verizon, American Express, and Honeywell. You put it all together, and it's up on the day by about 0.3%. And it's the one bright spot on a weekly basis as well. As for the other indices, we're down on the day for the S&P 500, down only about 0.1%, but also down on the week as well. The NASDAQ composite lower by about 93 points or 0.7% on the day. And the Russell 2000, actually a slight bright spot here. Looks like it's going to close out the day higher by about 0.1%.
All right, looking at the S&P 500, almost an even mix, 278 names, to the upside on this Friday, 222 to the downside, 3 unchanged, Katie.
And you take a look at the sector level, even though the index was only down by about 0.1%, you take a look at the sectors or the industry groups here. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, the sectors, energy up by 1.6%, healthcare also doing well, utilities. But at the bottom, you can see it there, too. It was information technology, some of your big tech names really acting as a weight on this index, even though you had plenty of names in the green.
All right, so let's get to it. I had a fair amount of names to choose from today. Let's go to News Corp. Top in the S&P 500 on this Friday, pretty much finishing just off its best levels of this session, up 4.7%, snuck up as the company reported adjusted EPS beat. It did have a sales miss, however. Cost cuts really driving, though, that earnings beat. And for the first time, digital accounted for over 50% of News Corp's revenues for the full year. So digital focus, definitely something that analysts highlighted. And this stock, I should say, trading on some pretty heavy volume. All right, want to go to Rambus. It was also rallying up about 6% in today's session. The semiconductor device company began a $100 million accelerated stock buyback program. So investors moving into that one. That stock up just about 48% so far in 2023. And drum roll, please.
What's that?
That's kind of lame. Eli Lilly is your best performing name in the S&P 500 for the week. Overall, up about 17%. And we did see that name add another 1.4% in today's session. We know the news. Everybody's talking about these weight loss drugs. And Lilly did boost its outlook of its promising weight loss treatment earlier in the week.
Have you tried one of these drugs yet?
What are you saying?
No, I didn't mean it like that. I mean,
no, I actually haven't. I actually, stepped.
I mean, I feel like everybody's on it. I mean, they're not supposed to be. Everyone can.
Well,
every single one. I don't overstate.
Well, I know people who have diabetes who are on it, and it's kind of a game changer in even like leveling out their levels. So that's the healthcare side of it.
Yeah.
I'm not on it. I'm just vain and I try to stay thin.
I'll take the decliners. Taking a look at U.S. listed Chinese shares, specifically JD.com, looking at that down 5%. So it's worst day since June 20th. So Chinese property giant Country Garden actually issued a profit warning. So you're seeing stocks like that, as well as Alibaba down that stock as well, 3%. So another one is Cano Health. So it's a healthcare provider. Looking at that stock, it dropped 73%. So it's worst drop on record. And the company did warn that it doesn't have enough liquidity, unfortunately, to cover its operations for the next 12 months. And it also said that it would restructure and plans to cut about 17% of its workforce.
This is a phenomenal story to me, because this is like one of those big SPAC deals when SPACs were all the rage. And you remember, I think it was Barry Sternlicht's Jaws SPAC brought it to public. Well, I mean, it was just 3 years ago, and we're already talking about a going concern.
We are. So seeing that stock pretty much decimated today.
You don't seem vexed by this as much as I am, Jess.
I mean, we got to get through them, because I know you're going to have a pop quiz about the biggest weekly decliner, which, by the way, is International Flowers and Fragrances, down 20% this week, Romaine, because I know you're going to ask me about that, but it's cut its full year sales outlook earlier this week, so that's why it's got pressure.
She's kind of smart, isn't
I
she?
like that.
I don't know. She's good. She's
trying
on.
to get ahead of it.
She's on to me. Let's take a quick look at the yield space, because that really was where a lot of activity was. I mean, you could look at the main yields here. A 2-year yield up about 5 basis points here on the day. The 30-year yield for a change was actually the laggard, only up about 1.5 basis points on the day. But you got to put it in the context of the whole week. What we saw this week was phenomenal. You're looking at a 2-year yield right now that's scraping back at that 5% mark. A 10-year yield firmly back above 4% here. And of course, all the yields right now, at least the major ones on the curve, above 4%. And I know, Katie, you've been talking a lot about this. The real yield, they should do a show about that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty fun. You're talking about 1.95 on a 30-year real yield right now, back to that 2% level. I don't think we've been there in probably, what, 2011 or something?
At least 2011.
It's been quite a time here. And I thought yields were supposed to be going in the other direction right now. I've been misled. What's happening?
A lot of people had bet that duration now was the time. It's kind of been a face-ripping move over the past month. That real yield, though, that 30-year real yield, Carol, maybe you missed this, but Bill Gross did not believe me when I mentioned that level. It really is sort of a sign of the times of how dramatic some of these moves have been.
It was actually funny. What was it that you called? Oh, not that you called him out, but there was something, right? Was it the 10-year or something?
No, I think it was the 30-year.
Or was it the 30-year? And he's like,
yield.
oh, yeah, Katie, you were right.
I did go back and check because, again, these are some pretty amazing levels. And it's going to be interesting on nominal yields whether we pass that ceiling that we set last fall. And again, some of these long duration yields.
We have had some market guests coming on and saying that when it comes to the fixed income side, that they are pushing out slowly on their duration, right? Everybody was so afraid to go further out along the yield curve, but they are getting some confidence. And so they're looking at some of their investors' portfolios and saying, okay, so maybe if you were, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe we go out a couple of years. Like they're feeling a little bit more confidence, whether it's on corporate bonds, whether it's on the treasury curve. So they're willing to play around a little bit.
Well, I am curious then, I mean, kind of what becomes the catalyst for this market? Because, I mean, this was, of course, all about those economic reports and the reaction in the treasury space. We don't really have the luxury of that. I know we get retail sales numbers next week, and we get, as Jess, I think Jess was the one who mentioned it, we get some retail earnings like Lowe's and Home Depot and was it Walmart, TJX, a fan favorite.
Yeah, Home Depot is coming up on Tuesday, then we'll have Target Wednesday, and then Walmart on Thursday. So it's going to be jam-packed. The following week, we'll actually have Macy's as well. So you can't get away from those retail earnings, even though we think we've gotten past the majority of earnings season, Katie.
And I'm excited to see what sort of commentary there is on pricing power and how much consumers are still willing to stomach right now. Because again, we go back to the story of the economy. It's been that resilient consumer, miserable but spending. It seems like we've been starting to test the limits of pricing power.
But Barclays is raising their outlook for retail stocks this year.
Really?
Yeah.
But then I was looking at the UMich data, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment data, and those projections of whether people are going to buy things, major things going forward. That's starting to slip here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, we're also going to get some housing data next week, and I feel like housing has started to be, or has been, some outperformance in a big way. And I do wonder whether or not we see the strength continue, and what that means as a sign of the economy.
I have a pop quiz for Jess Menton here.
Here we go.
What was the best performing major index in the world this week?
Oof, tell us.
She's just like, whatever. It was Copenhagen.
Oh.
You would never have guessed that. Up 9%.
What was the worst? What was the worst, Romaine?
What was the worst? It was, I don't even know what this is. OMX. I don't even know what the OMX is. What is that? I got to look this up.
I don't know.
You stumped me. I'm looking at it. I have it right in front of me, and I can't even tell you what it is. So,
I don't know.
Pop Quiz Friday.
Yeah, Pop Quiz Friday. I think you should put this as part of the Bloomberg quiz next time. That was Stockholm.
So, no kidding.
Interesting. So Copenhagen, the best performer,
them.
and Stockholm.
A lot of action.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. All right. If you
Just-
say so.
In keeping with the retail sentiment, maybe this weekend, Romaine, you'll go out and buy those man prees finally.
Oh, will you stop with the man prees?
Come on.
How many pairs do you have?
Come on. I have none. Zippo. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Be well. And we will see you again. Cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, and Bloomberg Originals. We'll see you on Monday, everybody.